Once upon a time, air rifles from the Far East were seen as cheap and cheerful. They served a purpose. However, the Chinese gun makers have rather come on in leaps and bounds in recent years. The result is some of the world's gun-making powers have taken a keen interest. People like Umarex. They now bring a rifle in from the Far East that's badged the Hammerli Black Force 800, and it comes into the UK via Armex. This gun is sold as a complete package. As well as a deluxe gun bag, you get a 6x32 telescopic sight. And for under £200, it's a pretty good buy, and I think we should have a look why. The first thing you notice about the Hammerli is its all black exterior. I guess that's why they called it the Black Force. And there's no denying that in this day and age, when you walk into a gun shop, you will see an awful lot of all black air rifles. It's a trend. This particular model has a high polymer stock, known as synthetic. And it is solid. And while a lot of people would like to see wood on their air rifle, there's no denying that synthetic stocks have their advantages. Checkering. You get panels on the grip and on the forend. The great thing about this particular stock is it's ambidextrous, so whether you want to shoot from the left shoulder or from the right shoulder, you're going to get a good mount. And to help you in that respect is the butt pad. Now, it might not be the best that I've seen, there's no white line spacer to play it off, and it's not particularly flush with the butt, but it is very, very practical, as is the rest of the stock. Up front, you'll notice quite a stylish looking foresight, and that's because this rifle, although you get a scope in the package, you also get open sights with the rifle, and they're more than just your standard open sight as well. They have fibre optic inserts, which is very much in vogue in the higher end of air rifles at the moment, but the Hammerli also has them. The forend is a red fibre optic. There's no tunnel to protect it because obviously that would cut out too much light. One of the problems with that does mean it's vulnerable, so you have to take care in the field, but my argument is, well, you should always be well aware of where your muzzle is anyway. The rear sight has two green inserts inlet either side of the very generous U-notch, and you align the U-notch with the red foresight post, and the speed of target acquisition is vastly improved. Thumb wheels allow full adjustment for up and down, for height, your elevation, and you also have a thumb wheel for windage, for your left to right movement. Of course, you're getting a 6x32 scope thrown into the bargain, so you may as well use it. It's got a standard 30-30 reticule, or a thick to thin duplex type reticule, and there are full adjustments for windage and elevation underneath the screw-off protective dust covers. You'll need a coin to adjust them, and you can reset them to 0 if you require. I'm quite impressed with the scope setup for a number of reasons. One is the optics are pretty good, considering this is a package scope, but also the rifle comes with an arrestor plate. Now, in air rifle terms, although there's not a lot of recoil, any recoil that there is particularly harsh on the scope. We call it whiplash. And it's whiplash because as the piston moves forward in the rifle wants to move backwards. Then the piston bounces on high air in front. As it bounces, the gun will shoot forward. Then the piston will come to a rest with a bit of a clout. The gun will go in the opposite direction again. So it's a back-forward-back recoil. Because of that, scopes tend to move on the rails, particularly if they're with two-piece scopes, but not if you have an arrestor block or an arrestor plate. And this comes as standard with the rifle, and although I've only fired 500 rounds so far out of this gun, I've not experienced any scope creep whatsoever, and consequently my 0 is held true. That, I think, is quite a nice touch on a rifle that costs significantly less than £200. You may have noticed that the trigger is a straight blade, which for a sporting stocked rifle is a little unusual. Well, it might look unusual, but believe me, in operation it's anything but. It's extremely reliable, and it's also very, very sweet. There is some adjustment, and I confess I have had a slight tweak with a screwdriver blade myself. You simply insert it through the hole in the trigger guard, and you can adjust left or right to increase or decrease the actual pull weight. The pull weight I've set here is about 3.5 pounds, which is what I like for a spring rifle in sporting guise. It's also got a nice first stage that takes up to a good stop point on the second stage, and then it breaks cleanly, and that's the important thing. There's no creep. You're not guessing when it's going to let go the shot. It does let go exactly when you're expecting it. I'm also impressed with the breech jaws. Now, spring powered brake barrels are key to their accuracy is how well engineered their breech area is, because if you have a sloppy breech, you will put in sloppy groups. This particular rifle, Hammerli have inserted a breech bolt, so the axis pin around which the breech block pivots when you're cocking the rifle is a bolt that can be tightened up, so it takes up for any wear, as opposed to a pin which once it wears you're going to have a wobbly barrel. Not with this gun though. Now, one thing that hunters are going to like about the Hammerli Black Force 800 is it's got an automatic safety catch. When you cock the barrel, the safety catch comes on without you having to manually set it. It's well positioned at the end of the cylinder, so your trigger hand can push it off. And better still, if you decide not to take the shot, you can simply re-engage it by pulling it out, and the trigger is then locked. What I particularly like is the ergonomics. It looks like a sporting rifle should, and it handles like a sporting rifle should. There's an extended forend which allows you any shooting stance you want, whether you're standing, kneeling, prone or sitting, whether you're shooting up or down. And that's what I like to see in a stock, and perhaps I would favour wood more than synthetic myself, but there's no denying that this synthetic stock really gives you everything you would want in the hunting field. Now, I haven't taken the Black Force out into the hunting field as yet, but I am sure it is more than capable against rats, rabbits, wood pigeon, magpies, crows, squirrels. It's full powered and it's a real pleasure in your shoulder. The ergonomics are absolutely a pleasure. It's been particularly good with the Airstream 2.2 pellets, 15 grain air bullets. They're not really wasted Diabolos. They're extremely consistent over the chronograph in terms of velocity, and in terms of accuracy, you wouldn't really want anything more.